Jayo Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Ajayo Girivaradhari Jayo Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Ajayo Girivaradhari Jayo Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Ajayo Girivaradhari Jayo Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Ajayo Girivaradhari Ajayo Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Dana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Natira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Jayo Kunja Vihari Jayo Kunja Vihari Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadada Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadada Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladeva, Jai Subhadra. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladeva, Jai Subhadra. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami, Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami, Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Jayo Radha Vallabha Radha Vallabha Sri Radhe. Radha Vallabha Radha Vallabha Sri Radhe. Jayo Radha Vallabha Radha Vallabha Sri Radhe. Radha Vallabha Radha Vallabha Sri Radhe. Jayo Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Sri Radhe. Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Sri Radhe. Jayo Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Sri Radhe. Madhava Radha Madhava Sri Radhe. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Sri Radhe. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Sri Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jayo Nitai Doyal, Jayo Nimai Sundar, Jayo Sundar Nimai, Jayo Nitai Doyal, जयो निताय दयाल जयो निमाय सुंदर जयो सुंदर निमाय जयो निताय दयाल जयो निताय दयाल जयो निमाय सुंदर जयो सुंदर निमाय जयो निताय दयाल जयो निताय दयाल जयो निमाय सुंदर जयो सुंदर निमाय जयो निताय दयाल जय गौर निताय 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 जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा पदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा श्रील गुरुदेवा गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा श्रील गुरुदेवा ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उद्धीरयेत् शृण्वतं स्वाकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृदन्तस्तो हि अभद्राणि विदुन्नोति सुहृत्सतां नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. By regular attendance in classes on Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. So today's verse for discussion, Canto 9, Liberation, Chapter 4, Ambarish Maharaj offended by Durvasa Muni, text number 23. Yasya kratusu girvane Yasya kratusu girvane Sadasyo ritvijojana Sadasya ritvijojana Tulya rupascha nimisha Tulya rupascha nimisha Vyadrishanti suvasasaha Vyadrishanta suvasasaha Yasya kratusu girvane Sadasyo Ritvijojana Tulya Rupascha Namsha Vyadrishyanta Suvasasaha Yasya Krasavane Sadasya Ritvijojana Tulya Rupascha Nimisham Vyadrishanta Suvasasaham Yasya Krita Sugirvane Sadasya Ritvijojana Tulya Rupascha Nimisham Vyadrishanta Suvasasaham Yasya Kratasu Girvane Sadasya Ritvijojana Tulya Rupascha Nimisham Vyadrishanta Suvasasaham Yasya Kratasu Girvane Sadasya Ritvijojana Tulya Rupascha Nimisham Vyadrishanta Suvasasaham. Anyone? Okay, word to word meaning and translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yasya, of whom Maharaj Ambarish, Kratusu, in sacrifices performed by him, Girvane, with the demigods, Sadasyaha, members for executing the sacrifice, Ritvija, the priests, Jana, and other expert men, Tulya Rupaha, appearing exactly like, Cha, and Animisaha, with unblinking eyes like those of the demigods, Vyadrisanta, being seen, Suvasaha, well dressed with valuable garments. In the sacrifice arranged by Maharaj Ambarish, the members of the assembly and the priests, especially Hota, Udgata, Brahma, and Advaryu, were gorgeously dressed, and they all looked exactly like demigods. They eagerly saw to the proper performance of the yajna. There is no purport, so we take the second verse also. 24. Svargo no pratito yasya manujair amara priya Srinvadbhir upagayadbhir uttamasloka chestitam. Translation. The citizens of the state of Maharaj Ambarish were accustomed to chanting and hearing about the glorious activities of the personality of Godhead. Thus they never aspired to be elevated to the heavenly planets, which are extremely dear even to the demigods. Purport. A pure devotee who has been trained in the practice of chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord and his fame, qualities, form, paraphernalia, and so on, is never interested in elevation to the heavenly planets, even though such places are extremely dear even to the demigods. Narayana para sarve na kutaschana bibhyati swarga apavarga narakeshu apitulyartha darshinaha. Devotees solely engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana never fear any condition of life. The heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same to a devotee. 6.17.28. A devotee is always situated in the spiritual world. Therefore, he does not desire anything. He is known as akama or desireless because he has nothing to desire except to render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because Maharaj Ambarish was a most exalted devotee of the Lord, he trained his subjects in such a way that the citizens in his state were not interested in anything material, including even the happiness of the heavenly planets. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutak Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has the form of Satchitananda Vigraha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Him who turned the dumb into eloquent speakers and enables the lame to cross mountains. Such is the mercy of the Lord. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we find that let's take a bigger picture before we take up the verse. This canto is described as liberation. Prabhupada translates as liberation for this chapter. And we know that from Bhagavatam that there are 10 topics. Atra sarga visargascha sthanam poshanam uttaya manvantareshanukata nirodho muktirashayaha. So that muktir or liberation is this canto. And we find that these topics are not just confined to one particular canto, but they are spread over various cantos. So for example, Canto 9, it just does not deal with only mukti, but it also deals with manvantaras. The historical periods of different manus is also spoken. And then we also find Ishanukata. Later we find that the Isha, the Katha of the Lord Ramachandra and his devotees like Ambarish Maharaj is spoken. And Prabhupada focused on the title as liberation. Now what exactly we mean by liberation? Anyone? Because this is a word which we often hear in our circles. So what do we understand by the term liberation? No material desires, yeah. Any other? Freedom from the cycle of birth and death. Thank you, Mataji. Let's hear what the verse says in 2.10.6. Nirodho shanushayanam atmana sahasakti bihi muktir hiktvanyata rupam Swarupena vyavastitaha. So muktir hitvanyata rupam swarupena vyavastitaha. Muktihi, that liberation, hitva, giving up, anyata, otherwise, rupam, form, rupena, in constitutional form, vyavastitaha, permanent situation. So therefore, real liberation is to be situated in one's constitutional position as an eternal servant of the Lord. This is how the mukti is being defined in this particular verse. So I'll repeat once again. Real liberation is to be situated in one's constitutional position as the servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is defined as mukti. And we find that in this chapter that the dynasties of great kings are spoken, the lives of great devotees like Ambarish Maharaj is spoken, and we find that although they are very powerful monarchs, but material accomplishments or material achievements has no value. We think that, well, we are in a position enjoying our whatever little we seem to be enjoying. But great kings, they have ruled the universe or the planets for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and yet they found no value, no consequence. And so therefore we find this chapter talks about the glorification of bhakti as a process to achieve liberation. So glorification of the Lord as a process to achieve liberation. Now coming back to the context, this verse that we're going back to 9.4.23, although there is no purport given by Srila Prabhupada, but it talks about, the verse talks about especially the priests, Hota, Udgata, Brahma and Advaryu. And we see that each one represents a particular Veda. And typically a ritual, a Vedic ritual, is highly coordinated and a team effort. It's not an individual person trying to recite few mantras. So these four personalities are present: Hota, Udgata, Brahma and Advaryu, each representing a particular Vedic scripture. So these four personalities are not four individuals, but rather they represent the roles or they represent the positions. Like Indra is not a person, but it's a role, and that role can be taken by different persons. So similarly, Hota, Udgata, Brahma and Advaryu are the different roles. And the role of Hota, he represents the Rig Veda, implying that he recites invocations and hymns from Rig Veda when the sacrificial at the arena, when the mantras are being recited. And what is that role? That he is inviting the deities to the sacrifice through glorification. So you praise them and you invite them by reciting the mantras from Rig Veda. So this is the role of Hota. Then the second person, Advaryu. Advaryu represents Yajurveda. And what does he do? He performs the physical aspects of the sacrifice. That is creating the Agni Kunda, arranging things. All that is done by Advaryu. And then he gives the different signals to other reciters what to do. Then Udgata. Udgata represents the Samaveda, and he chants the melodious hymns of Samaveda. So therefore, the Samaveda mantras, they are recited to elevate the consciousness of the participants. And finally, we have Brahma, who represents Atharva Veda. He is overall supervising the entire sacrifice. Somebody doing any mistake, he says, hey, you are doing a mistake, correct yourself. So you find that these four personalities are present, or four roles are present in any yajna, and we find the same in Daksha yajna also. It is said that these four persons were present in order to perform the yajna. And equally, when Yudhishthira Maharaj performed the Rajasva yajna, again these four persons were present in order to perform the yajna. But then, is this applicable to our yuga? We are in Kali Yuga, where hardly anyone has the capability of reciting or ucharana, that pronouncing the mantras exactly or accurately as they are supposed to be pronounced. I have seen in one ashram, I'm not sure anyone has visited this ashram, this is called the Chinnajirji Swamiji's ashram in Hyderabad. Has anyone visited that ashram? It's spread over 100 acres of land, just adjacent to, very few kilometers away from Shamshabad, that is the international airport for Hyderabad. And if you want to visit the Divya Desham, that is 108 temples which have been visited by Sripad Ramanujacharya, then it's a task by itself that you need to move all over the country, or all over the temples, all the temples spread all over the country. Most of them are in Tamil Nadu, but some of them are outside as well. But all these 108 temples have been replicated in that ashram. So by just visiting that ashram, you are able to have darshan of 108 temples. But why I'm trying to bring the focus to that ashram is that they run a Gurukula, and in that Gurukula, they teach recitation of the Vedic mantras right from a very young age. And I've seen the boys, when they recite, by the time they reach the age of adulthood, or maybe 20, 25, starting from their young age, they recite mantras so well. They are trained to recite the mantras. I've seen a book, maybe some 400 or 500 pages book. You tell a word from that one page, then the person can recite the mantra starting from that page till the end of the book. From anywhere at random, you pull out the page and you tell the person, boy, and the boy can recite the entire mantra subsequent from that particular line. So well they are being trained. But even then, they also, I'm not sure, because according to what Prabhupada is saying, that it's not possible for them to recite all the four Vedas perfectly with the required meter in order to invoke the whatever the result or outcome of reciting those mantras. So therefore, what is applicable in our Kali Yuga is we are moving from the yajna, as mentioned in the previous verse as well, yesterday's verse, to the Kali Yuga, where Kriteya Dhyayato Vishnum Tretayam Yajato Makai Dvapare Paricharyayam Kalau Tadhari Kirtanat. So therefore, we find that in Krita Yuga, that was the meditation, and in Treta Yuga, it was yajnas, and in Dwapara, temple worship. But in today's world, or in Kali Yuga, it is Kirtana. So by performing Kirtana, whatever in the previous yugas they have achieved, the same can be achieved by simply performing the Kirtana. And what is that Kirtana we need to do? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So therefore, this verse is trying to tell us the transition from the fire sacrifice to the Sankirtana Yajna. And we also have the other famous verse, Yagnai Sankirtana Prayar Yajantihi Sumedasaha. Sumedasaha, someone who is intelligent will perform Lord Chaitanya's or will participate in Lord Chaitanya's movement of Sankirtana and then perfect their own life. So this is what we find, we can gather from 9.4.23, and now we move to 24. The citizens of the state of Maharaj Ambarish were accustomed to chanting and hearing about the glorious activities of the personality of Godhead. Thus they never aspired to be elevated to the heavenly planets, which are extremely dear even to the demigods. So Prabhupada opens the purport, a pure devotee who has been trained, in the practice of chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord and his fame, qualities, form, paraphernalia, and so on, is never interested in elevation to the heavenly planets, even though such places are extremely dear even to the demigods. So the emphasis here is on training. I'm sure all of us who have come to Krishna consciousness, before coming to Krishna consciousness, we can compare ourselves. Although born in Vedic culture, so-called Vedic culture, and witness the pastimes of, being told the pastimes of Krishna Katha, or Ramayana or other Vedic scriptures, yet we were not convinced of the fact that that is the journey we need to undertake in human form of life. What made us to take to this Krishna consciousness path is the training we have received. Because without training, what is the status? The scripture says that avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinnavesha, klesha. These are the 5 kleshas we have. Avidya. The first klesha is avidya, that is the ignorance. Ignorance of the misunderstanding of oneself. Who am I? Am I this body, or am I something beyond this body? And it's a question I don't think majority of the people on this planet ask this question. Who am I? Because I ask this question very often in the university to the students. 30 or 40 years ago you were not present, and in another maximum 100 years' time none of you will be present. Then who are you? Not a single student is able to give the answer. Every semester I ask the same question to the students. No one gives the answer. Why? Because they have not been trained. That knowledge has not been imparted properly. So therefore, although Bhagavad Gita says it's open for everyone, but still it is considered to be guhyam, confidential, because people do not know that they are not the body, but they're the spirit soul, or they're beyond the body. So that is the avidya. And because of that avidya leads to asmita. Asmita is the ego, the false identification of who I am. And because of the false identification comes the raga, which is the attachment. Attachment to the body and bodily related activities. And because of that, dvesha. And because of the bodily attachment, then we harbor the thoughts of dvesha, ichcha dvesha, aversion to negativity. And finally leads to abhinivesha. Abhinivesha is fear of death. So this is the sequence of layers of klesha somebody experiences or everyone experiences who does not have the training, proper training of Vedic knowledge. And that abhinivesha is spoken in 11.2.37. Bhayam dvitiya abhinivesata syat. Dvitiya refers to matter. Although the person, the jiva, or more precisely the jivatma, is eternal, but because identifies with the body, thinks that he is temporary. And because of that, that creates the fear. And how do we overcome this particular fear? Otherwise, we are also deemed to be on material platform no better than an animal. So therefore we have that verse which is often quoted by Srila Prabhupada, Ahara nidra bhaya maitunam cha samanyam etat pashubhi naranam dharmo hitesham adhiko visesho dharmena hina pashubhi samanam. So someone who does not have this knowledge is equated to a pashu or an animal. And what differentiates between an animal and a human being? It's the understanding, dharma, it is the understanding that he is not the body, but it's something beyond the body. That's the first stage of understanding. And then we say that, well, that is not enough to understand who we really are, that we are the Amsha, or we are the servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. Unless we come to that platform, we continue to live in fear. So therefore, when we do not have the knowledge, what is that we do? We engage our senses. The only goal or the only objective of life seems to be engaging our senses or deriving the pleasure by engaging the senses in matter. We can be an observer and then see what's happening in the society, and we find that's what people are doing. Just engaging their senses in sensual pleasure. The whole day work like, I don't know, the thing we can say, work like a donkey. And Gurudev says that the carrot is dangling in front of the donkey's eyes, and therefore in trying to catch that carrot, the donkey does so much of work. And at the end of the day, it's all Shrama eva hi kevalam, has not achieved anything in life. But you look at what someone who has got knowledge coming from a Vedic culture, what does that person say? Mother Devahuti in 3rd canto, I think chapter 25, says that I'm disgusted by engaging the senses in the sensual pleasure. So the actual word, she says, I'm very sick of the disturbance caused by my material senses, for because of this sense disturbance, my Lord, I have fallen into the abysses of ignorance. So you can see the contrast. Someone who is having the knowledge, someone who is trained, someone who has the understanding, is disgusted by using the senses in sensual pleasure. Whereas others who do not have the knowledge, they think that that is the only goal of human life, just engaging the senses in sensual pleasure. So therefore the training is so important, and by engaging the senses in sensual pleasure, what is the consequence? 13.22 Bhagavad Gita says that Purusha prakritisto hi bhungte prakriti jan gunan karanam gunasangasya sad asad yoni janmashu. That sad and asad, in various forms, we get the bodies. And this has been happening since time immemorial. One can't trace back since how long we have been in the material world, and therefore we have gone through so many forms of, so many different bodies we have received. And yet we have not learned any lesson. And Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says, Abrahma bhuvanan loka punar avartino arjuna mam upeti tu kaunteya punar janmana vidyate. From the highest planet in the material world to the lowest, all place of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So therefore, the importance of training, and what wonderful training the Melbourne temple is been giving for the last, how many decades. And now we have an educational board that has systematized the entire the steps of learning from lower level to the highest level in terms of Bhakti Sarvabhauma, starting with initial Bhakti Vrukshas, then Bhakti Shastri, then Bhakti Vaibhava, then Bhakti Vedanta, and then Bhakti Sarvabhauma. Keshav Prabhu often says that Melbourne temple is the only temple, or is one of those very few temples on this planet which offers these variegated courses in order to train individuals in Krishna consciousness. So therefore, we are so fortunate to have such a leadership in this temple that we can be trained in Krishna consciousness. And having received this training, what is the outcome of this training? We find the verse, this is 5.5.18, Guru nasyat swajano nasyat. So I'll just translate Rishabhadev's instruction. One who cannot deliver is dependent from the path of repeated birth, and they should never become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod. So therefore, this training helps us to deliver ourselves and also deliver those who are related to us, those who are dependent on us. Otherwise, we should not take the role of leadership, including whether somebody is a husband, somebody is a father, somebody is a mother, somebody is a teacher, somebody is in some other role. So here we find that a pure devotee who has been trained to practice chanting Krishna consciousness will never be interested even in heavenly planets. Why is that? Because Gurudev, I think last week he said that when somebody is chanting or glorifying the Lord, what is happening? The person is placed in his constitutional position. So Gurudev gave that statement. On the whole, what is that we are required to do? On the whole, we are required to hear Krishna Katha in the association of devotees from a pure devotee, and by doing that, what is the result? We join back Krishna eternally in his abode. So on the whole, what is that we are required to do? Just hear Krishna Katha, chant the glories of the Supreme Lord in the association of devotees, hearing from a pure devotee, someone who has got Krishna in his heart or her heart. And the result of that process is that we are reinstated in our original position. That position is of the servitor, that you are the servant or amsa of the Supreme Lord, and in the role of a servitor serving the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. So the process has been made so simple in Kali Yuga, and this process has been brought to us by Srila Prabhupada to all over the planet. Otherwise, we are thousands of miles away from where the Vedic culture has taken birth, and yet in the morning, 8:30 we are sitting here, or 7:30 we are sitting here to hear Krishna Katha. It's an impossibility without the mission of Srila Prabhupada in International Society of Krishna Consciousness, because even while being in India, I've never done it. I'm not sure how many of you have done it, but at least I have not done it. And I was born in on the bank of river Godavari in a place called Manthini, 120 kilometers from Hyderabad, where the typical culture has been every day morning Mangalarti, you get up, you travel 3 kilometers by walking, take a bath in river Godavari, collect water from river Godavari in a pot, and while coming all along the way you have temples, you offer that water as abhishekam, and then come home, cook with that water, and then sit for meditation, and then they hear every day Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Yet that culture has not penetrated my heart because there was no proper training. But by receiving proper training, then the whole process makes sense. Otherwise, I thought, why all this is being done? What is the value of that? I'm in the university, and so much of pride in those days, because we were the second batch of engineers coming from Osmania University, south of India, and we were considered to be the cream of the society because there were only 2 universities in Hyderabad, only 2 colleges which offered engineering, and we had to go through entrance exam to get into engineering. And today we have almost 250 engineering colleges in Hyderabad. No one cares. The change of time. So what made us to come to Krishna consciousness is the training we have received in the association of devotees, and makes us the sense. And with that training, what is happening? Lord Kapila says to Mother Devahuti that by performing devotional service, he quotes this verse, Jarayati asuya kosham nigirinam analo yatha, that by performing devotional service, it dissolves the subtle body of the living entity. Lord Kapila, who is himself the Supreme Lord, he is saying that by performing devotional service, what is happening is your subtle body is getting dissolved. We know that we have 3 layers of existence, the Sthula Sarira, the gross body, the subtle body, and the Adhyatmika body, or the spiritual body. So the gross body, which is the Sthula Sarira, which is visible, that goes to crematorium at the time of death. But the subtle body wraps the spirit soul and then transmigrates to the next body. And what is the subtle body consisting of? You have the mind, intelligence, false ego, and chitta. Chitta is technically the place where all our desires are stored. Whatever desires, material desires we have, it's all stored. Our karmic reactions, desires, everything is stored. And Lord Kapila is telling Mother Devahuti that by performing devotional service, all the desires which are there are being cleansed because it is getting dissolved. So therefore here we can see that in the practice of chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord and so on, people are not interested even in elevation of the heavenly planets, because even heavenly planets also, we experience the same birth and death. Just as we have come to the heavenly planet of Melbourne, staying in India. We watched, at least I watched the TV, the MCG Stadium greenery, and then other aspects of Melbourne, and that attracted me to Melbourne. If I had received the training, if I had the exposure of Krishna Katha seriously in Melbourne, in Hyderabad, Radha Madan Mohan Temple, possibly I wouldn't have come. Just as here, it is said that a pure devotee is not interested in being elevated to heavenly planets. Because once you have the understanding that even in heavenly planet the same birth and death is there, why go there? Stay wherever you are, happily perform your devotional service, and at the end of the life you are returning back home, back to Godhead. We wouldn't have come, I'm not sure how many would have still come after to receive training in Hyderabad or in India about Krishna consciousness. But our training started only after coming to Melbourne, and therefore we feel that this is the place where we should stay and return back home, back to Godhead. So therefore Prabhupada says that Narayana para sarve na kutaschana bhibhyati Svarga apavarga narkeshu apitulyartha darshinaha. Devotees solely engaged in devotion of the Supreme Person of God, Narayana, never fear any condition of life. The heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same to a devotee. Why? By performing devotional service, what is happening? On one side, the subtle body is getting dissolved. And the other side, we can also say that our consciousness is getting elevated. So when we are on, say, on the ground level, we look at each property, house, trees, rivers, big, all appear very magnified. But the same, when you look at from, maybe you're flying, then they look very tiny. Or possible you may not be even able to identify each one of them. So similarly, when we are chanting, our consciousness gets elevated. In that elevated consciousness, whatever is happening on the material platform, it is not that the miseries are not going to happen on the material platform, but it will not touch you, or it will not touch us. So the more somebody is absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna, Krishna's pastimes, the more the elevation in consciousness takes place, or the purity of consciousness takes place, because it's all cleaning the chitta, all the desires are being washed away, and therefore you are being reinstated on the spiritual platform, and whatever is happening on the material platform should not touch such a person. And since it does not touch that person, the persons do not fear any of the material conditions. Because material condition means that we are living in fear. We live in fear because we identify ourselves with the body. But when I'm separate from the body and I know that I'm the spiritual soul and I'm eternal, I have nothing to do whatever is happening on the bodily platform, then where is the fear? Fear comes only when I'm on the material platform, when I identify myself with the body. Whatever body-related things are, when I start losing them, eventually I'll be losing everything related to the body. That creates the fear. So if someone has to overcome the fear, then person should take to Krishna consciousness seriously. This is the medicine we have, and it's a process one needs to take by everyone. And not only that we take this process, but we share this process with others. Rather, we should share this process with others. And we must share this process with others. And if we are not doing it, we are failing in our duty as the true inheritors of the property given to us by Srila Prabhupada. Because the mission of Srila Prabhupada is to preach Krishna consciousness. Whether the other person is ready or not, whatever form we feel, we can reach out to the person, give Krishna consciousness, and the journey begins for them. And we do not know when it materializes. As we have seen in our own life, when it has materialized, there could be gaps. I heard Srila Prabhupada's lecture in 1975 or 6 in Hyderabad. 1975 or 76, I have attended Pandal program Srila Prabhupada in Hyderabad. There, in those days, there used to be a Reddy hostel, and in that Reddy hostel in Abbots, Prabhupada held the program, attended the program. But nothing penetrated my dull skull. It's only when I came to Melbourne that things changed. That is 1998. So from 1976 to 1998, I was still in slumber, sleeping. And I did not come to Melbourne in search of Krishna consciousness. I came to Melbourne in search of heavenly pleasures. But see the Krishna's arrangement. All that I thought would give me the pleasure is giving me only, or gives us only pain. Because the more we engage our senses in material pleasures, the more we become entangled, and the entanglement leads to punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. I'm not sure how many have seen a plant called pitcher plant. As a child, we used to play, we used to observe that. Pitcher plant is called a carnivorous plant, that it eats insects, the plant. So an insect sits on its flower in search of food, and gradually the flower closes. And the insect is there inside the flower, and the flower closes, and the insect is absorbed by the flower, or the insect is sucked by the plant. So similarly, when we want to enjoy the material senses, we want to see that, okay, this material world is meant for my enjoyment, then the consequence is that of the insect being sucked by the pitcher plant will be sucked by the material nature. Because this material nature is not meant for our pleasure, it is only meant for our reformation. It's meant for our correction. Some feel the correction quickly, and therefore we have such people who wear saffron robes and then spend their whole life in Krishna consciousness. Well, others may take some time, but still everyone should be on this path. As Lord Kapila says to Mother Devahuti, by taking up this process, your subtle body gets dissolved. All the desires disappear. Therefore, Prabhupada continues that, therefore, he does not desire anything. When the desires itself has been cleansed, where is the question of any material desire? And hence Prabhupada continues, he is known as akama, or desireless, because he has nothing to desire except to render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the job, or this is what we are required to do. Simply render service to the lotus feet of the Lord and his dear devotees. This is the key. Actually, that's what Lord Kapila says to Mother Devahuti. The key is that serve the Lord through the medium of devotees with the knowledge. So therefore you enter the heart of the Sankhya by the knowledge as the weapon. And to get that knowledge, we need training. And this knowledge is not the typical jnana which is spoken in terms of speculation, but this jnana is devotion. The knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge of Bhagavatam is bhakti, is devotion. And by acquiring or by living in this platform, then one is reinstated to one's constitutional position. So therefore we have in Padyavali, I'll not read the Sanskrit part, but the English translation by Kaviratna, O Krishna, I do not want to enjoy the sense pleasures of the heavenly planets, nor do I hanker for liberation. I pray at your lotus feet for only one thing, that every day I get the chance to hear about your wonderful nectarian adventures. So this is the desire of a pure devotee. So because Maharaj Ambarish was a most exalted devotee of the Lord, he trained his subjects in such a way that the citizens in his state were not interested in anything material, including even the happiness of the heavenly planets. How could Maharaj Ambarish train his subjects? Because he himself was an exalted devotee of the Lord. That means that first of all, we should do the achar. That is, that I should first practice, or we should first practice. Only when we practice, then comes the prachar, that we can preach. If I do not practice and then I preach, it's not going to touch the heart of the recipient. There is, in Telugu, the language which I speak, there is a saying that a Brahmana usually gives discourses, and in the discourse he says to everyone, you should not eat onion, you should not eat garlic, it's not good for spiritual progress. And his wife is also present in the audience, so after coming home, she cooks food without onion and garlic. And the first thing the Brahman asks is, where is onion and garlic? Then wife says, just now you said that one should not eat onion and garlic. Then he says, it's not meant for me, it's meant for others. So achar is only when I practice, then I can tell others that you do this and you don't do this. And if I do not practice, I tell others, it has no value, it has no impact on the others, because it is coming from a contaminated heart. The lips and the heart, they are not synchronized. And the synchronization takes place only when somebody is practicing Krishna consciousness, not otherwise. So therefore, we find that by chanting, it purifies the heart. We are reinstated to our original situation, position, and it gives us immense confidence. It gives us immense strength to remain in Krishna consciousness, to tolerate and move forward in Krishna consciousness in the material world, because turbulences are part of our life. Turbulences are part of life in material world. Everyone has to go through turbulences in order to get purified. How, in what form, who gets it, when, in what percentage, that's decided by the karmana daivanetrena. Under the supervision it happens, but it will happen. And when it happens, do we have the strength, do we have the courage to take that this is also the mercy of the Lord, that I'm going through this phase of life as well? Because this is for my benefit, this is for my purity. Just as a parent not only takes the child into his godi or into his bosom, but equally if required, gives one on the bum. That punishment is equally the love of the parent, in as much as taking the child to the heart is also love. And if we can understand that, then we should carry, or we should have that famous verse of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam as an ornament, as our neck bead or as a necklace. Tattenu kampam susumikshamano Bunjana evatma kritam vipakam Rudvagvapurbir vidadan namaste Jiveta yo mukti padasa dayabhak. So that dayabhak, we become eligible, the rightful heir to enter the spiritual world. And this is possible in this day and age simply by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And in the association of devotees here, Krishna Katha, purify oneself and return back home, back to Godhead. That's what. So therefore, such people are not really interested in the glitters of the material world, whether it is Swarga or whether it is Naraka. It doesn't make any difference, because they are deeply absorbed in the consciousness of Krishna Katha. Yeah, I think we've got 2-3 minutes time. At this stage, we'll stop the session. Grantharaj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions or any comment from anyone? Any questions, any comment from anyone? Okay. Vanchakalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Krishna.
come in between here. This is our fourth or fifth visit. We are also Radha Maharaj disciple who want. And work with the section channel. It's very inspiring. Very inspiring class.
We repeat what Prabhupada said about
I think I am very I also think there are 19
Vandeham. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Jaya